You are listening to Thunderbolt Sports Talk. Here are your hosts, Charlie Adams and Timothy Yeen.
Welcome to episode 17 of Thunderbolt Sports Talk. Boy, do we have a jam-packed episode for everyone today. I'm Charlie Adams, as always, joined by Tim Yeen. And Tim, so much has happened since our last episode. I don't think that there's enough time for us to properly cover everything that's gone on, but let's get started with the most recent and arguably the biggest story, but definitely the one that hits most close to home for both us and surely many of our viewers. Belichick's time in New England is over, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the end of the season, was anybody really surprised? I mean, I was really surprised due to how the season went and how the past seasons went, but really, it's still pretty shocking to see a head coach of 24 years just straight up part ways like that. And, everything he's done, it all, culminates to this, is bound to end at some point. And I guess it ended here. And now the new mission for the Pats is where do we go for the next head coach?
Well, Belichick's the greatest coach of all time, and he ends his time as a Patriot head coach with a loss to the Jets. And I know some New York media really loved to rub that in our faces in their reporting on Belichick's mutual parting of ways with the Patriots. He had a press conference yesterday at Patriot Place. There was plenty of media coverage. Apparently, he's never seen more cameras in the press room since he signed one Tim Tebow. So definitely making headlines for sure, as expected. But he wasn't the only coach fired in the league or let go by their team. There was plenty of other names, some surprising, some not. Mike Vrabel now available, Pete Carroll moving into an advisory role, Arthur Smith, that was expected. And it's just a long list of coaching firings that you'd expect at the end of a season.
Yeah, and surprisingly, even in the college football world, we're seeing Nick Saban retiring. So in the span of just 2 days, Chaz, that's Pete Carroll, not coaching Seattle anymore. Bill Belichick not coaching New England anymore. Nick Saban not coaching Alabama anymore. And
maybe a changing of the guard, and you're already seeing Alabama losing five-star recruits following Nick Saban's retirement and the transfer portal rules. There's probably plenty of people on their way out of Alabama. It'll be interesting to see how they can replace Saban, who is easily the most successful college coach of all time and built up such a program and brought in so many talents that went directly to the league and performed. So it's going to be interesting to see how they can replace such a guy.
Yeah, nice little tidbit, too, is that, he had more first-round picks in the NFL than he had losses in his time at Alabama. And, when, like he said in the interview I watched with him, when you're getting up there in age, it's kind of getting a little bit harder to guarantee in an honest perspective that to prospects that you'll be staying as, the head coach of Bama when you're 72. And the season was just a little bit too much on him, so he decided to retire, just a couple days ago. And, that's going to have a little bit of a ripple effect. So now you got five-star recruits going elsewhere. And, this is going to certainly change the landscape. We might see Georgia rise up again, even though they missed the college football playoff. And, it should be interesting to see how it all unfolds now with Alabama losing the biggest piece of their dynasty.
And another Nick Saban fact is any player that played for 4 years for Nick Saban walked away with at least one college football championship. We'll talk about the newest college football champions, the Michigan Wolverines, later on in the program. But let's jump back to Bill Belichick, the Patriots. Did it have to be this way? We know his win record is coming up. Probably, when you're going and having such a dreadful season as the Patriots did this past season, it'd take a while to get there. But now Bill Belichick's going to go off, and he's going to break the record of wins with another team not named New England. I mean, he did tease that he will eventually be back in some way in New England. This is his home, but it was certainly a tough season to watch and probably just as tough to be a head coach of. But did it have to be this way?
Oh, we've had a long discussion, with our advisor, Mr. Simone, on that. And, I think we came to the somewhat agreeable conclusion that, if Bill Belichick had to sort of give up some type of managerial role, the GM position, it wouldn't work out. And I think that's what Kraft thought of it as well. I know he tried to see there was a little bit of a process and just having Belichick coach instead of, doing everything, but he didn't think it would work out. And I think that's the final decision they came up with that, if he stayed, he would have to give it up a lot of power, and that certainly wouldn't have Belichick happy. So I think it kind of did have to end this way. It was either that or he keeps everything and he has one final shot at running the program. But yeah, I feel like it was balanced regardless of how this season went. That, if we finish poorly like this, a new changing of the guard.
Well, now that Belichick's time in New England is done, can we make a decision on whether Belichick needed Brady or Brady needed Belichick? And before we make any comments on that, let's just preface it by saying both Brady and Belichick agreed that they needed each other. And sometimes, people are discrediting Belichick and discrediting Brady. Not so much, but they both needed each other. You don't get 6 Super Bowls without a good head coach, and you don't get 6 Super Bowls without the greatest quarterback of all time. When you put both of them together, you make magic, and in my opinion, they definitely needed each other. The argument Belichick needed Brady, I guess, has more legs behind it, but he did have success with the Mac Jones rookie season, making the playoffs with that team. That team was garbage. And even worse, the team before it, just getting 7 wins, no playoffs, but you had Cam Newton back there and still had a pretty successful season. So Belichick definitely, as a general manager, maybe not so much, but the head coach didn't seem to be too far off of what we saw during the dynasty era of the New England Patriots.
Yeah, I would say like the biggest mark on him, Belichick, as of late, is the GM part of all of it. I definitely agree with you, Chaz. What the Fans Only Sports Network group chat might not believe, that Belichick and Brady had to work together to create this dynasty. I mean, you don't see dynasties just pop up like that. I mean, have you seen Andy Reid win a Super Bowl with Alex Smith? No. Have you seen Andy Reid win a Super Bowl with, Donovan McNabb or whatnot? No. It's really a matter of fact of, how you see it go out. You need the head coach and the quarterback to be on the same page. Like, Detroit for a long time, dude. Like, Matt Stafford was doing great, but what about the coaches? The coaches weren't really, helping out the team to win. And again, referencing Mr. Simone, you saw Joe Montana and his coach, work some magic. John Elway and his coach work some magic. All those quarterbacks, that have played, have had the coach to go along with it and to try and elevate one or the other to a much higher extent than, the other is kind of, just like shameful, especially the fact that we're always rooting that football is a team sport, that it's, a team game. Tom Brady can't play defense, Jazz. He can't play defense.
Yeah, I think football, for some reason, despite having 11 men on the field at all times, somehow always seems to be the most often pinpointed towards one player or one problem on the team when there's so many contributors to making a good team and a bad team. And, Bill Belichick gets some heat for his GM duties, but he made 6 Super Bowl teams, and you can't take that away from him. So he could be considered the greatest GM of all time if you look at it from that light. let's move on now to the future of New England because it's coming right at us and it's coming fast. There's a new head coach position to be filled, plenty of personnel changes, but also we're going to need to see what we're going to do with that number 3 draft pick that New England has on April 25th when the NFL draft kicks off. There's plenty of names available. Some might go ahead who we might not be able to draft. Maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. goes number 1. We still don't know what the Bears' ideas are in the NFL draft. But, Tim, what's your ideal situation for entering next season?
One Eric Rube.
That plan. Eric Rube's Twitter. Sometimes I feel like he just puts something out there to create a buzz because his plan for the Patriots is not one that should be followed. He would like Mike Vrabel to be the head coach and was hoping Bill Belichick would step down to defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And then he'd bring in Justin Fields as the quarterback, draft MHJ. Okay.
Yeah, here's what I agree with. I think, Belichick stepping down to DC is obviously like a bogus move, right? But I feel like if we have the opportunity that MHJ drops to 3, then, and the Bears publicly say they're gonna go for Caleb Williams, which they haven't shown yet. And I think the thing is they're gonna keep Justin Fields, I believe, but that's just my gut feeling because so much in this league, you're just dumping players after the third year they haven't performed, especially quarterbacks. If a Justin Fields trade was possible, I would make it for, I would say, a second or third, maybe a third if we're talking about this year's draft.
The Patriots do have a pretty valuable second-round pick, of course.
Yeah.
Very early on in the second. First-round talent certainly will be available in that pick slot. And we'll definitely know on draft day whether or not the Bears are in on Justin Fields or not because they're going number 1. And if they go quarterback, I'm thinking Justin Fields might be available. And if they don't go MHJ number 1, I'd assume we'd have MHJ at the number 3 slot if we wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Certainly, I feel like we're gonna see the Justin Fields situation unfold first before we see them do anything with their pick. I feel like it's could be a little bit more likely if they find somehow like a flaw with Marvin Harrison Jr., which I don't think they will, to maybe even trade down like last year's and just get a big haul. It worked well for them, and that number 1 pick isn't even theirs; it's Carolina's. So certainly a situation to monitor at, and to continue on. Mike Vrabel, I would appreciate as head coach, but then again, there's a whole bunch of people. You got. Let's talk about the outsiders first. I mean, Ben Johnson's in some coaching circles, but is he coming to New England? Probably not. Raheem Norris, he got interviewed for it, or he got requested for the Falcons. I don't know if he's going to be the coach. Probably not for New England. But, some of the more in-shot candidates. Brian Flores, who's certainly a little bit more out there, but, he was coaching that 2018 defense in the Super Bowl. So that's certainly something to entertain. And, obviously the in-house candidate, Gerard Mayo, which Ron Robert of the Fans Only Sports Network says he's probably going to become the next head coach.
Well, Brian Flores would definitely be my pick. It was somewhat head-scratching to see him fired from Miami after a winning season, and apparently there's some inside morale things that led into that decision. But, yeah, reports coming out yesterday that Gerard Mayo worked in a successor to Bill Belichick part of his contract ahead of the season, ahead of the previous season. So if that's the case, I guess it's all said and done, and we'll see Gerard Mayo as a head coach. Might be a little too early, in my opinion, to make that jump. But if that's the case, I guess the Patriots might be able to make it work because they've done it in the past. When they found Bill Belichick, they gave up a lot to get him. Maybe Robert Kraft has an eye for these head coaches and can make that decision before it's even required, trading a first-round pick for Bill Belichick. And maybe he's already picked out his replacement in Gerard Mayo. Time will tell. I'd like to see New England draft Marvin Harrison Jr. if he's available and look for a quarterback in the open market, maybe trade, maybe free agency. Find somebody for now who can throw the football with a little more consistency than what we've seen in the past season.
And segueing into our next topic, college football championship, Michigan over University of Washington. J.J. McCarthy completing 10 passes in the victory there. Michael Penix had a little bit of a dysfunctionality, I would say that. Just a little bit errant on his passes. I watched a little bit of it. There was this one play on fourth down, deep pass, but receiver couldn't complete it. And besides that, I didn't think it was the greatest showing for Michael Penix. He was at one point, before the championship game, being considered, being the last of the quarterbacks taken in that top 5. After that, who knows?
Yeah, well, he definitely seemed to be a little banged up, and it wasn't his best performance, but at least it was a game that was a little better to watch as a fan than last year's blowout win for the Georgia Bulldogs. J.J. McCarthy lived up to his coach's expectations as the greatest Michigan player. He brought Michigan their first championship since 1997. And for Michigan and Harbaugh, do we think that Harbaugh will make the jump to the NFL?
Oh, yeah, that's another head coach candidate that could be for New England, but it's unlikely. Jim Harbaugh, he's certainly done enough. He's done what he wanted for Michigan, which is to win them a national championship. And with that being said, I know there's a lot of rumblings around, people that could take him. Most commonly the Raiders, who, if they do hire him, that would be like a disgrace to, what Antonio Pierce has done as interim.
Wouldn't be the first time that happened.
Yeah. I wonder who did that the last time. Antonio Pierce, I love the fire he's brought to the Raiders organization. He really represents what, a Raider is, And, the Chargers are also looking in on a potential Jim Harbaugh situation.
The Chargers really look like the destination for all these head coaches looking for a job, and it kind of seems like the perfect situation to put a Bill Belichick in.
Yeah.
If you want to finish off that win record with some speed, there's definitely talent there. Mm-hmm. They definitely have some similarities to some of the Patriots teams that saw success. Brandon Staley in his tenure as the Chargers coach was impressively bad. Mm-hmm. Go back a couple seasons to when the Chargers were the league leaders in offense and defense and still managed to miss the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So that team has potential that they've been trying to capitalize on for years, and maybe Bill, maybe Harbaugh is the way to get across.
Yeah, that Charger situation really feels like the perfect situation for, Bill Belichick. You already got the quarterback, Justin Herbert. You got receivers, and Keenan Allen, who is still getting a little bit up there in age, but, he's still a great route runner, and whatnot. Mike Williams, if he comes back healthy, he can make a big splash. Quentin Johnson, I know he had a rough first year going, but, maybe under some Belichick coaching, he, pops it back up his second year. Closest you can say on that pick, Quentin Johnson, N'Keal Harry, but
I don't know about N'Keal Harry. That was the darkest times of the New England, seeing N'Keal Harry.
I'd like to say he's better than N'Keal Harry.
It's a low bar.
Yeah. So you also got Austin Eckler, pass catching, James Whitehall, hello. So, a lot to work, especially with that defense.
Yeah, definitely a promising spot. Maybe someone who's been fired in the NFL, maybe someone coming up from the college level. And the college football season now in the books. It was an exciting one. It ended with a blast this past Monday. Congrats to East alum and friend of the program, Caden Holtzman and his Wolverines. That's their first championship since 1997. And with that, there's another thing wrapping up around here in relation to Thunderbolt Sports Talk and Cranston East as a whole. That's our first semester of our senior year. We're halfway through as of next week, and there's plenty of things coming up, finals and midterms. The student morale is low. No 2-day spirit week to cheer things up, thank goodness. But there's an exciting second semester on the way.
Yeah, certainly exciting for us at least, Jazz. But I want to refocus first on, how your first semester has gone, how my first semester has gone. I mean, obviously for you, you've had a little bit more of a, I wouldn't call it, would you call it a more difficult stretch of first semester than mine?
Yes, I definitely would.
I wonder why.
Well, seems like the filler classes came in a semester early for you, but anyways.
They're gonna come in. All early.
Oh, all right. Some teases for second semester, but first semester went good grades wise. I didn't drop any GPA, class rank. I mean, apparently class rank freezes after the first semester, so it won't matter much. The senioritis hasn't really kicked in yet, and there's really no time to let senioritis kick in because I don't have any, but we keep on moving into the finals and midterms taking place next week on Thursday and Friday. Both days are half days, and neither of us taking any finals actually in the school building. I had all AP classes taking up my schedule and not requiring me to take a final, and you had some jury duty get in the way of you coming in on one of those days.
Yeah. Mrs. Snowman, fortunately, has jury duty on Thursday and Friday. So
civic duty.
Yeah. So she has to perform her civic duty. I get to stay at home, and I get to take the exam for trigonometry on Wednesday. So it's going to be a pretty interesting exam we have for trigonometry.
Well, I took my AP statistics midterm, and it happened. It didn't go good, but it was enough to keep my grade where I was expecting it to be at the end of the quarter. Looks like I'll finish with a B that quarter, so it's all right. Okay. I was sitting at a nice 89.6. That's an A- as of progress reports, but we're going to finish with a B. It's going to be fine. Don't worry about me. Next week, I'll have a midterm for AP Computer Science Principles and AP Computer Science A. Wow. So that's the Tuesday and Wednesday for me.
Yeah, I didn't know you guys got midterms for, computer science.
Yeah, well, it should be not much to stress about. But back to the Thursday and Friday finals days. They're half days. We won't be here, but the podcast will. We're going to come at you on our day off and bring you a gaming episode. Yes, from home, we're going to be playing some video games. And it'll probably be domination by Charlie Adams, as it usually is on the program.
Is it gonna be on your screen?
I don't know really what the setup is. I think we have a little time to figure things out and get that looking all good. Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah. Listen, I'll give you like Fortnite because I'm not really the biggest trickster at Fortnite, but we'll see about Mario Kart and Madden.
Yeah, maybe we can run some duos and then turn it into a 1v1 in Fort before moving into the Nintendo Switch games. I don't know if you own Super Smash Bros.
I do, but it's kind of been dusting up.
Yeah.
I haven't played in like 2 years.
Well, you might want to leave that in the case because even though I'm not good, I'll probably be better than you. Finally, in our school talk here, we just want to make sure you guys know that the podcast will return for second semester. You can expect us right here at the same time and place, available on all platforms. We're going to do it big in the second semester, finish off this school year with a bang, and keep running this podcast because it's been an enjoyable first semester, and we hope so that it's been the same for you.
Yeah. We've had a lot of fun hosting this podcast. We've also had a couple of guests come on this podcast, and we hope to see some more coming on, especially some more in-school voices, maybe some out-of-school voices. The only problem is it's kind of tough getting some people to wake up at 7:30 in the morning, which is very much, relatable.
Yeah, it's not the earliest or it's not the latest of times, and it can be a little groggy in the morning, but maybe we have some energetic administrators that might enjoy an appearance on the podcast. I know we'd enjoy. Maybe if you're listening, Mr. De Palma or Mr. Barberi, we'd love to have you on the program and see what we can do here. And entering second semester, there's going to be maybe, hopefully, some audio improvements. I know our setup right now is pretty good, but it can get better, and hopefully it will as we enter our third quarter, which is just weeks away. And the change is always an excitingly stressful time in the school year. But for some in the school year, they've gotten an early preview of what third quarter is. Of course, the third quarter for the basketball team, that is the boys basketball team, has not seemed like their favorite time in these games, but maybe things are turning a new leaf as we enter our second semester.
Yeah, so for Cranston East boys basketball, their last home game, they played pretty tough in the first half. It was just the third quarter, they looked awful. Like, they looked ugly. I guess it's that third quarter blues. Hopefully it doesn't turn out the same for my grades in the third quarter, or anybody's grades. But they did pick up their first league win, 51-50, versus Woonsocket in an overtime thriller. Darian Peterson, 20 points, was 6 for 13. And, from what I've seen from Peterson, he's been, streaky. He's been hot and cold. But certainly during that game, it seems to him that he's found his groove. And you just hope that continues versus LaSalle, a very tough matchup. Only one loss on the league season. 2 losses to some out-of-state schools. And, it should be a tough one, especially with some guys that were from last year's division championship squad. You got Demoy Stitchell, all that Jake Marcone, and even some volleyball players on the team as well. Ali Abdurazak, who's supposed to be playing volleyball next season for LaSalle, who's also committing to Brown. So, they probably got the IQ in that too.
Maybe you're the next one to commit to Brown, as plenty of college news still rolling in.
Oh, yeah, we got to celebrate those college posts, Jazz.
Oh, yeah. We do have some college shout-outs for you guys. Me and Tim were both accepted into Bryant yesterday, so another option on the table looking towards our next 4.
Yeah, we got some official commits too. Congratulations to Aston Fowler for committing to Western New England University. And Chaz, we got another one too, if you'd like to announce the gracious decision.
Well, Aston Fowler will be playing tennis at Western New England University, but the other college announcement that was posted to CHSE Decisions 2024 is Caillou Touch committing to Fortnite University. So congratulations to him. Go Fish Sticks, as he looks to bring Fortnite University back to the OG glory days of their program there. He's definitely a big player. He's majoring in carrying. We'll see what changes he has to bring, and that'll transition us smoothly into the esports team, who have been a dominating force in this winter season, which Cranston East has kind of needed in this cold and dreary days. The Mario Kart and Rocket League team have picked up the slack.
Yeah. The esports team consisting mainly of, the same players, but, that Mario Kart team, man. I mean, I think if you and me joined, I think we'd clear the rest of the state. most likely. You know, that Miles Darconti, Timmy, and Charlie Adams trio.
I don't know if it's too late. We might need to talk to Mr. Danforth about
Yeah.
joining. I don't know if it's too late. I know they have
Oh.
actual rosters online.
Yeah, if our schedules get
But-
relaxed a little bit,
Yeah,
you
maybe.
know, if our after school schedules are relaxed a little bit, maybe we have some time for some esports. But yeah, they picked up a 2-0 Mario Kart win versus Cherry. The first match, 101-55, 110-46. The second match, Miles Darconti leading the pack with 64 points. Justin Mazerlalier with 54 following, and it's going to be a really tough Mario Kart team to beat. I'm not sure what they're doing. I mean, I do know what they're doing. They let Miles Darconti just play the game, and he's winning. So that's obviously a good strategy. But, you got to think about it perspectively. I guess they're using the red shells right. They're getting accurate with their green shells, the mushrooms being used correctly. All just the little things that Mario Kart has. I know you are well versed in that.
I'm just wondering, are they doing the spin around tactic that the pros use in team play at the start? You spin around and wait at the back trying to get that shock. You have one guy sandbagging it in the back looking for items. I don't know. I know it's a popular strat in the competitive Mario Kart team scene. But yeah, the esports team definitely holding it down. And Miles Darconti, a sleeper pick for Athlete of the Year. Definitely a sleeper pick.
Definitely, one of the more, pungent picks of the, of the year. Pungent as one of the more shocking, one of the more, out there candidates, which,
Well, he's putting the sport on the map.
Yeah, he's putting esports on the map, and with another 3-2 win versus Central Falls in Rocket League, this team is only going up.
Yeah, the program overhauled after Mr. Simeone led them last year, and now Danforth takes over, and they've been on a roll to start the season. Let's jump back now. We started the segment talking about the Cranston East boys basketball team, but we'd be remiss to not mention the girls basketball team, who also were able to pick up their first league win.
Yeah, they picked up a huge blowout win versus Mount Pleasant, who are also winless, 66-39. Maya Jimenez, 28 points. Bella Dupree following up with 12, and Jana Gardner with 10. So everyone's shipping in a little bit over there. That shows to go how a perfect game should go for Cranston East, with Maya Jimenez leading the way, plus some straggling scorers. Especially Dupree underway. Those scores, Dupree off the brace now. So she should be able to elevate herself, potentially. But, obviously happened yesterday, 50-39 loss versus Mount Hope. Jimenez, 21, Gunderway back with 10 points. And that was really, it. So that's, hopefully they bounce back.
Yeah, well, it's good to see Bella Dupree off the brace and back to looking her normal way on the basketball court. And Maya Jimenez has been leading them all the way with big scores, putting up big numbers each game. She's definitely honing in on a great and memorable season as we continue through the winter season. Plenty of other sports results. I know you were on site for the wrestling meet between Tolman and East Greenwich. It was a big game there.
Tolman and Narragansett.
And can you just run us through the rest of our Cranston East sports results as we finish off this segment before moving into another big news that came out recently?
Yeah, okay. Let's rapid fire. We already talked about the wins. We talked about the overtime. Track meet went well. A lot of PRs for the girls track team. I'm not going to list them all here. Wrestling, Narragansett, we lost to them, but won against Tolman. But to be fair, a little bit shorthanded in the wrestling category. Saw some, some of my friends play. Ken Wynn, Andrew Lantigua, and their dogs. They played their toughest. Just got to iron some things out.
And if you want to stay up to date on all Cranston East sports results, make sure you're following our Instagram page at TB Sports Media. You can check us out on Instagram and Twitter. It's all the same, but that's where you're most up to date on what's going on this podcast and what's going on in the sports world of Cranston East. We can bring you the results every week, but if you want them a little bit early, that's the place to find them. Those are the results, but the big news that came out this week regarding Thunderbolt Sports involves the Cranston East football program. We knew it was coming for the 2024 season, but division realignment for Cranston East football and the divisions of Rhode Island Interscholastic League as a whole were announced, and Cranston East will be a Division III team starting next season. West is bumping up to Division I because Division I is back to being an actual league and not a 4-team stooge fest. That was ridiculous when it was like that, but Cranston East Division III, what does it prove for the program?
I mean, it puts the program in I wouldn't want to say more embarrassing situation. I would like to say a more opportunistic situation.
Well, that's a good way of looking at it.
Yeah, you got to look at it a good way. You've seen these teams, dog on Cranston East, through the last couple years or so, since like 2019. So this could be like a huge break for them, Chaz, and it's going to be more of a motivator, I guess, to help morale because, after losses on losses on losses on losses, you're not really in the best of psyches. And, you got to look at this in a way that they put us in D3. We got to get these wins against these teams and show that we belong in the division above, and then after that, the division more above. And you got to look at it from, a build-up perspective, not like they're disrespecting us.
Yeah, and they were kind of close to even falling to Division 4, which, the Cranston East football team didn't really pick up a win for years. So it's what's expected. But, yeah, it's a good opportunity for them to hopefully get some wins and get back up the ranks and maybe start producing more excitement in Cranston East building for the football team, encouraging people to want to join and help the program, which we haven't seen as much as things have gotten darker and darker. Let's run down all the actual divisions now here. As in Division 3, the new Division 3, East Greenwich Classical, Pontigansett, Rogers Pilgrim, Johnston, the Cranston East Thunderbolts, Cheraho, Mount Hope, North Providence, and Central Falls. Cranston East faced off against East Greenwich a couple of times in the past couple of years, and it's been a pretty successful run against them, so that might be some good competition. A lot of new faces, new matchups for the Thunderbolts entering the 2024 season. There's 4 new divisions, all of similar sizes. Last year and the years previous, it was a 4-team Division 1 consisting of Hendricken, LaSalle, North Kingstown, and Central. They still remain in Division 1, but they're joined by Cumberland, Portsmouth, Cranston West, Barrington, St. Ray's, and Burrillville. Yeah. St. Ray's made a big jump because they were a D3 team, a successful D3 team, and now they're stomping around in Division 1. We'll see how a small school gets along. I know they had the Gatorade Player of the Year 2 years ago. Special shout out to the new Gatorade Player of the Year recently announced. That's Miles Craddock from Moses Brown, who will be, his team at least, will be in Division 2 next year.
Yeah, Miles Craddock, I've seen him once in a broadcast of, the Providence Journal Game of the Week, and he played good, man. I mean, he got himself wide open at some times. He also ran the ball extremely well. He deserves it, man. And I want to continue on. Cranston West D1, that's another, message to look at if you're the Thunderbolts. Like, the Falcons are in D1, and now you're the Thunderbolts. You're looking at, how are these guys, your D1, but, not us. And that just, further motivates the team to rack up some wins.
And especially after that exciting Thanksgiving Day game that came down to the wire and was really a heartbreaker once again for Cranston East. They played them close, and they've been deemed Division I talent now. It was kind of surprising to me to see that jump up, and especially they've lost some big names over the years that have probably caused a promotion. You know, Marcus Chung had a great season that brought them some success. That was a couple years ago. Now you have new talent rolling in. We'll see how they do against the upper echelon of the Rhode Island football scene. Plenty of shakeups in the football scene, but for other teams in the fall and coming seasons for Cranston East, can we expect some divisional changes for other teams here at Cranston High School East, or do we hope for some of these teams to maybe take a step down or step up in division in these coming years?
I mean, I don't want to see, I obviously don't want to see, any teams get embarrassed because, they're getting put a division below. But, sometimes, some of the teams here at Cranston East, they might, they might help out a little bit in terms of morale, program improvement in terms of, just dropping a division for maybe a couple years or so. I mean, we saw it with the softball team, back in my sophomore year, they didn't win a single game. And, a year later they dropped down a division and it turns out they made the playoffs. So, for some teams here, maybe that little ease of competition, puts the teams at a more, motivational position and a more winning position at that.
Yeah, we'll see what goes on here in the coming years. Some struggles in the basketball programs to get wins across. You might see them drop a little. The volleyball programs skidding a little, but they definitely had some success earlier on in our freshman and sophomore years. That might keep them up for a while. And yeah, it's not what you want to see, but sometimes it's what has to happen to rebuild the program and bring some more success in the sports world back to Cranston East, because we haven't seen much in our time here.
No, not really at all. Hopefully to the future TSM generation, if I don't know if there is a future TSM generation. Maybe they get to experience a little bit more winning than we do.
Or maybe Tim Yeen will be on site to experience the new era of the Thunderbolts through his college years.
Whoa, some breaking news, actually. It's official now. Inside linebackers coach Gerard Mayo, now the head coach for the Patriots.
Whoa. All right, so breaking news on the program about Gerard Mayo, and, well, there you go. So we asked a question earlier on in the program, and we've got the answer now. Tim, do you have notifications on for Schefter or Rappaport?
I got them on for Ari Merov, and
oh my goodness!
Now it's per Adam Schefter, so it's official now. So Gerard Mayo, now the youngest head coach in the NFL, a month younger than Sean McVay. And wow, did we just have our first ever breaking news on this podcast?
Yeah, we record in the morning, get it out to you as fast as possible, but it's not always the news hour. And we'll see if we see any victory laps from Ron Robert in the group chat now for getting that one right.
Wow. I guess knowing Tyler and Corvus Fogg, does help.
Yeah, definitely. So what a way to conclude episode 17 with some breaking news. The future of the Patriots is now a little more set in stone. We know our head coach of the future, Gerard Mayo. Welcome to the big time. It's an exciting time. We'll see how the rest of the coaching staff builds up. Maybe we see a Brian Flores return as defensive coordinator. Maybe Bill O'Brien will stick around as OC. Still Josh McDaniels looming. He could definitely find a way onto this staff in some way. And there's plenty of excitement here in New England, here at Cranston East, for Thunderbolt Sports Talk. And for all Boston fans, things may be turning a page for the New England Patriots.
Yeah. The only thing I have with Mayo is if we bring back, Vrabel, McDaniels, and even a GM, does Mayo have the ability to, hold the top dog be the top dog and all those meetings and coaching plays, especially since Vrabel and McDaniels have had head coaching roles.
Yeah, coaching experience and Vrabel some more success than McDaniels, to say the least. But exciting breaking news to end the program. Episode 17 in the books here for Thunderbolt Sports Talk. I'm Charlie Adams signing off, and Tim Yeen alongside me for this episode. As always, Tim, sign us off.
We're on to Gerard.